Warning, this video discusses sensitive topics including mental health and suicide. Viewer discretion is advised. If you or someone you know is struggling, please seek help from a mental health professional or contact a crisis hotline immediately.
Coming up on the Greg and Tim Show podcast.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Ruining desserts for generations to come. Are you going to start a gang or something?
Yes.
Okay. This is off to a very weird start.
This is the podcast.
We are so derailing from what we were initially talking about.
This is derailing is all about what we are.
Okay. This is the scariest memory I have from my childhood.
Wheeler or Tyler?
Honestly, that is such a hard thing to answer.
It would have been surprising if you just said one really quickly.
Okay. I should have. Now I regret
Wheeler.
that. Yeah.
Cut. So Wheeler or Tyler?
Wheeler. There's a lot of really weird things going on with how pharmaceuticals are advertised and marketed and become trendy. You would be amazed how incredibly resilient human beings can be.
If you could leave somebody today with one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
Hey, welcome back to the Greg and Tim Show. Tim's here. And
Hi.
so is Greg. Hey.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having us in your living room or your
And
car or your garage. I heard somebody watches us in their garage.
Oh, yeah, and it's a big garage.
It's a giant garage.
Roman has a
we're
massive
saying names
garage.
now? I'm going to beep that out.
Why not? I
gonna
thought we
beep
could
his
say
name
first
out.
names. We just can't say last names.
We can't say last names?
But we can say first names.
Okay.
We've been gone over
Roman,
this.
thank you for watching.
Has
in
an
the garage.
awesome garage.
Today we have a great guest today. We have Jasmin
Don't call me Patrik's sister.
Laine.
Pronounced Lane.
Laine.
Yeah.
So Jasmin Laine's with us today. If you like this episode, comment below what your favorite part was, because the comments feed the algorithm, and everybody knows the algorithm needs to be
Fed.
That's correct. Thank you for joining us today, Tim.
Like,
You-
subscribe,
and
share. All those things.
all the buzzwords
There's
that
a
happen.
button right here in front of Greg.
No, there isn't. This is the beginning of
There
the show.
could be a button. There may not
Let's
be. but there
let's get
could
right
be.
into the interview with Miss Laine.
Let's roll it.
Roll. Welcome to the show, Jasmin Laine. How are
Thank
you
you.
doing?
Oh, just peachy.
Just peachy?
Another
Yeah?
day in paradise.
How was your day then today?
Honestly, today's been absolutely chaotic, but that's largely just because of some technical difficulties in my household, aka our truck broke. So we are
Okay.
down to a one vehicle family, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So
running around a lot. And
yeah.
running each other around? Is that what's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, big bonus is the fact that he likes to go out on the weekends, and he can't now because I have the keys. It's my car.
It's your car.
It's so crazy. He'll be like, "Oh, hey, I want to go with the guys for drinks," and I'll be like, "That's so funny because you don't have a truck anymore." So
The 16 Osborne goes down every 20 minutes.
no, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, he had a tattoo appointment today at my sister's shop, so I
Okay.
had to go take him there, and then of course, because it's my sister's, I had to walk in and say hi, and then I was there for like an hour.
Your sister has a tattoo shop?
So she is working at one with two of her very best friends who own it.
Okay.
And yeah, she's been there for a little while. It just opened Bluebird Tattoo down Watt.
Okay.
Some of quite literally the best artists in the city
Very cool.
all work there. It was a whole bunch of people that were just like, man, we want to work for ourselves now. And my sister happened to be one of them. She was in talks for a while to be a co-owner of that shop, and then she got pregnant and then wasn't quite sure exactly what was going to happen and what the financials were going to be, so it didn't make sense. But
Life happens.
yeah, she's been working there though since they opened, and it's been awesome. It's like a great big family there.
Tim just got his first tattoo.
Really?
Yes. I've got a few, but Tim
Okay.
just got his
We
first
were
one.
in Florida with about 8 guys. And
Oh no.
on a Saturday night or whatever night it was, we all went to.
The first night we were there.
Yeah, we all went to get tattoos. Well, he didn't, but.
Okay. What did you get?
I got
on your
on
hand?
my hand, yeah.
That's hardcore. Nice.
Yeah.
Are you gonna start a gang or something?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exact my entire plan.
You can
is to
just, like,
start a gang.
This is. I
He
can't lift up that
started-
finger, but this is you. Can you guys lift up that finger? Or is it just me? He's on it. He picked that on with purpose. Why can't I lift up that? Oh, I can on this end. This is off to a very weird start.
This is the podcast. This is we want to know things about you, but at the same time, We just talk about random stuff.
That's perfect.
Essentially, you're on our podcast as a third person.
Okay.
If you've ever seen our podcast, it's just us.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys talk about sports a lot. And
Yes.
then like every once in a while I skip and then you don't talk about sports for like 15 seconds. I love those 15 seconds. And then it gets back in, oh, bombers. And I'm like, ugh.
Demographics for us is very much men. What was it last time you looked? Like 85% men, 15%
Yeah.
of our friends' wives.
Oh, that's really nice wives.
Friends'
Yeah.
wives.
That's really kind
You
of
have to
them.
watch.
Yeah.
You should see what these guys are up to,
Aw.
basically, is what they say,
So-
right?
So speaking of
that.
sports, so I'm confused. So you're not Patrik Laine's sister.
I was here first.
Okay.
Okay. And my family's from Belgium.
Oh,
so don't really
Very
know
different.
where he got off as a Scandinavian, being like, hey,
Changing his
I
name.
look like you, except I'm uglier. And I play professional hockey here. Cool. And then it's the only nice thing though is every single time I go to a Jets game, there's so many people that are cheering for me. Like they have with the jerseys on in the
Perfect.
back. They
Yeah.
just haven't gotten rid of them, even though he's not on the team anymore. And like, thank you, Winnipeg, for
Now it's just for you.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. That's
I don't
awesome.
know anybody else with the same last name. So
So not into sports at all?
no, God
No?
no. I did competitive cheerleading when I was younger, which I don't actually know if that is officially a
It's a
sport.
I play baseball and people say it's not a sport.
That's a sport. You hit balls and stuff. It's a sport.
I think cheerleading has a little bit more athleticism
Yeah,
than
yeah.
baseball, but
Yeah. There's some fast runs.
Oh, you have to be fit to do cheerleading, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
cheerleading's a little bit more difficult, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I did that for I think about 8 years or so, and then I injured my knee pretty bad, which I still feel every single time it's about to rain now. So
Okay.
that's really cool. I honestly though, had I not injured myself, I probably would have still been in it to some capacity. I really loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, weirdly enough, because I'm not.
So competitive cheerleading up to like high school or
So I ended it around. I want to say around grade 11 or so was when I officially was like, I got to stop doing this. And then I had tried to get back into it. I have a number of friends because cheerleading is that's not an older age sport by any
Yeah.
means. So I would say typically once you reach, I want to say maybe like 25 in most cases. Obviously, if you're doing football cheerleading or something like that, sometimes you can
you can go a
extend.
little bit further,
But doing competitive cheer, you're in your prime, I would say anywhere from maybe 8 to 17 or so.
okay.
Maybe early college, university years as well. That can be beneficial, especially in the United States. They do have, there was that whole cheer on Netflix show with the
Yeah.
Navarro cheerleaders and
Bring
all
it
of
on.
Yeah. And all of those
You looked excited when I
actresses,
said bring it on.
all of those actresses were like totally 25. So
Exactly.
they may have been acting as high schoolers, but yeah, I would say it's more so something where like if I were to still be doing it today in my life, I would probably be more so in the coaching sector,
Yeah.
which I have zero desire to do whatsoever. I have a hard enough time keeping like track of my dog, so I could not imagine coaching a whole bunch of like young, incredibly talented young gals.
Yeah. And teenagers are tough.
Yeah, so you cheerleaded and you graduated here locally?
Yeah.
So that's where you did your, okay.
No, I did competitive cheer. So I was on a few teams like outside of school. I did get into it through my friends in school though. But we didn't have like a local team at our high school or anything like that.
Okay.
It was something that I had gotten into when I was quite young.
Are you from Winnipeg?
Yep.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
grew up in Winnipeg.
Not Winnipeg, Manitoba. Grew up in southern Manitoba primarily. I kind of moved all over the place. Like my parents had a house flipping business. So
Okay.
like we'd move every like 6 months to a year on average. I went to a lot
That's
of
a
hay
lot of time.
schools. Went to a lot. I went everywhere. I know this province very well.
So the south of the province then mostly?
Yeah.
So like Steinbach.
Yep.
I'm
That's
lost
as
for the
far
rest
as you
of them. Winkler.
Yeah. The south, so
Altona.
like Steinbach. You got Altona. That's good.
Yeah. I drive through them on the way to Winkler.
Okay.
So
yeah.
you got Altona, Morris, Steinbach. Oh, Lorraine's from Vita.
Amazing. I used to live 20 minutes away from Vita in Sundown.
Oh, okay.
Where I think the town has, 5 people that live there, and my family makes up 4 of them.
Ah, nice.
So I don't know who the other random guy is, though. He hides in his house a lot. So
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Lorraine's from Gardenton, so
Okay.
same rough size, I think.
Oh my! Did we just become best friends?
They like.
I love that.
I remember visiting when we were dating because she had the farm still, and we'd have to drive all the way there. And
It's such a pain.
I thought I was ending up in like Grand Forks.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you're so close.
I have quite literally, because my parents still have. I think they have 2 properties out there still, but they're still like our main property. There's a few. It's so funny. Like my stepdad, when he would be moving houses, he would just move them onto the property. Like he would, and then he would build new. And I don't know if the plan was ever to like become one of those like ready-made homes. Like, I don't know if that was like a dream deep down, or if he was like hoarding buried alive in houses. Like, I don't know if that's a new spinoff or something. But it's funny when you go down to my parents' property because there's literally like 3 houses and they're all homes that we lived in, including a trailer that we lived in as well. Like especially when I was much younger and stuff, like my family wasn't as financially well as we are now, which still in today's economy is not.
We'll get to that later on.
So
that happens during the second half of the podcast.
But yeah, so we kind of lived all over the place. I absolutely hated moving around so much when I was younger, but it's certainly something the older I've gotten that I appreciate it a lot. And there's something too, like, you know, city kids compared to country kids. Yeah. We're just way cooler.
I grew up in Stonewall.
That's close enough.
It's country-ish. Yeah. It's a town. It's very developed. Tim's a city kid though.
What area?
So, I'll correct you a little bit. So I can identify with you because when I was younger too, we would live somewhere 9 months, move around, different reasons, but same idea that we would never get stuck in one area. And so I can definitely.
Are you hearing the dog?
Yes, we are all hearing the dog. Yeah.
He's such a baby. That's me.
Okay, we'll take a second here. He so when Brandon watches the sound and everything like that, we don't have to worry about that because he doesn't care about Brandon. But when Lorraine does it, he wants to be right beside her.
You know what's so funny?
What's that?
Same with my dog. It is sickening.
He just needs to be with you.
It's a she. Listen, it's 2024. Let's not assume gender identities.
What was the gender of the dog?
She's a woof woof.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, she's the exact same way though. It's sickening. Like, and it's so funny too, because like Steven, most of the time, whenever I'm recording anything, he'll be sitting in the living room, like playing video games, and you can just hear her just whining at the door, wants to come in. I'm like, Steven, grab the dog, and he'll be like, sorry, I'm just beating this boss. I'm like, the boss, get the dog,
get the dog out of here. Yeah, he doesn't care about me. If I'm in here with Tim, doesn't care. But if Lorraine's in here,
little mama's boy,
and he's my dog.
Yeah,
like I got him. I trained him. I got up at 4 a.m. with him every day with that.
That's so weird.
You put him down.
Good. No, what?
So but you say like don't assume dogs' genders. Growing up, I always thought of dogs just as a kid. You always think of dogs as a male, and cats as a female.
Absolutely, that's so true.
You just think about it that way.
You totally do.
And I think the reason why I did was because my parents' dog was a male and our cat was a female.
I think that I get very defensive with my dog's gender solely because I love the color blue, and that's associated with boy dogs, and I hate it because every single time I go to the dog park, oh, what a cute little boy. It's a girl. She likes blue. It drives me insane. Oh, what's his name? It's a girl. Like, there's a flower on her collar. God damn it. Like, it drives me nuts.
What's the dog's name?
Lulu.
Lulu.
Short for Lucifer when she's being bad.
She's a very...
And short for Little Cindy Lulu, like Little Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch when she's being nice.
Oh, okay. So Lulu is what you go by for her normally.
Yeah. Lulu, Stinker. She has a lot of names.
What kind of a dog?
So we don't know 100%. We got done goofed on the adoption sheet as per.
Okay.
But she is she's from a reserve in Saskatchewan, if I'm not mistaken. And her mom is part boxer. We did have photos of the mother, but as for the father, not too sure. She was like listed as it was a Sheltie. No, that's wrong. Like a border collie type of a something with boxer was what the mix was. But
So
she definitely is like, she has like pit bull in her for sure. We went to the vet too.
Oh, don't say that too loud.
Sorry, we live outside of the perimeter. But so yeah, she has a certain percentage of, she's like boxer, pit bull, and then there's the dogs that have like the hyena strip. I forget what those are called. They're not super popular, but their fur on their back raises.
Oh, okay.
Like a hyena essentially. They look like Spike from Gremlins when he gets like angry. That's like what her
like
back
when you get water on them.
Yeah, like pew pew. I don't know. That's what she looks like though. 110%.
Gremlins reference. That's something that you don't really hear from somebody in your generation.
You got to hang out with me more often. I love the 90s and the late 80s for movies. That is the era.
So your parents let you watch anything?
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, honestly, now that I think about it,
a lot of the times it comes down to what our parents let us watch, right? Like I like Police Academy, even though it came out before, like I really should have watched it. And then like things like Gremlins and stuff like that, because my parents would have it on TV.
Like, I don't know if my parents were bad parents or if I was just a really manipulative child, though.
Well, my guess is because what you had said before, they were flipping houses.
They were busy.
They were busy. They were off somewhere else. You say, well, what's on TV for yourself, right?
Did you guys ever like grow up with like your parents who would hold the flashlight or something, and like you would hold the flashlight if they were working on a car? No. And like your only job was to hold the flashlight in the right place. And of course you wouldn't, and your dad would yell at you.
So if I had done that, I would know how to do things.
Oh, okay. Fair.
And so I don't, so I didn't.
So same, but like my parents would be more so like, oh, you idiot. They never called me that. But they'd be like, get out of here. Get out of here. And I'd be like, okay, bye. I'm going to go watch Gremlins.
Yeah.
Jasmin, you're 4. What do you mean?
Yeah. I grew up very white collar. My parents worked in offices. I didn't get to learn how to fix a car, build a house, none of that stuff.
See, that's one thing that's if I think when you look at me from a first glance, the life that I have and the skills that I have you would never expect that to be true. 'Cause like, hot damn, I am handy. Yeah. Like even for us, when I moved in with my boyfriend, we renovated his entire house, and I think he helped with a few things, but like he works out of town.
He held the flashlight.
He held the flashlight for sure. No, he's great. He's really tall, so he gets like all the nice stuff.
I could hear the bus coming from a while back there, from the start of that story.
He's lovely. We just have different skills though, you know. Yeah. He's really good at doing stuff that I'm not, and I'm really good at doing stuff that he's not.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's not true. I'm really good at doing a lot of things because I'm very dedicated
to learning things.
I love learning new stuff. I like truly, at all for comedy's sake, no shade towards him. I genuinely I love learning stuff, and like I'm one of those people where it sounds really crappy, but like I always get what I want, and it's not because of anything other than the fact that like I'm so dedicated to like figuring it out. Yeah. I don't know if that's like maybe some like childhood trauma or something of not getting what I wanted as a child, like hugs. So now as I'm older, it's like I just always figure things out.
But now that you work with Tyler, you must get hugs regularly.
Oh, he hates that. Are
really?
You? Oh my God. I think the last time I asked,
seem like a kind of guy that would hate hugs.
I think the last time I asked him for a hug, or no, the last time I said, "Hey, do you want a hug?" Because he was like, I can't remember what it was. He got like some bad news or something during the show once. And I was like,
Super Mario Brothers was canceled.
Honestly, it was probably like they announced the voice for Princess Peach and he didn't like the actress or something. And I was like, do you want a hug? And he was like, ew, no, don't touch me. Okay, cool. But if I were to ever say, do you want a cupcake? He'd be like, give them all to me now.
Okay, so
his food's his love language, then, not touch.
So enough chit chat.
Let's
get to our first serious question.
Okay. Oh.
And you warned her about this question. So
awful.
I totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
So she's probably hoping I'd forget about it too. This is the hardest question of the entire show.
Who is Jasmin Laine?
So I will give this in a much more serious answer for sure. I would say Jasmin Laine is somebody who has certainly struggled a lot more than it looks like on the exterior, I'm sure. Somebody who has learned a lot, and someone who, I'm on the radio, and so you know, there's this certain persona that you put on it, and it is a version of your personality, but it's not your entire personality. Like, human beings are so complex. And so I get to play up certain parts of me and also play down other parts of me in order to fit in with my team and make it more entertaining. And everybody does that in the business, but there's so much more to me than what I think a lot of people would initially think. Like, I'm speaking of thinking, I am a huge thinker. I'm really, really observant. I love researching, love writing. I love getting into things, having debates. Like, I am so into that world. And that's a side of me that a lot of people don't often see. So it's interesting because I've kind of transitioned into doing some more stuff solo that isn't backed by my career by any means. And it's interesting, the comments that I get, people being like, whoa, what happened to you? And I'm like, nothing. This is me. I've always been like this. You can ask all of my 2 friends. Like, nothing has changed. But yeah, I don't know. I think too, I've also just, the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten comfortable in my own skin, and I'm kind of starting to see the bigger picture of life, especially as more hardships come your way. Yeah. There's a lot of new things that you realize. And I love to joke around and be fun, but I'm also like very well educated in some things, or at least I think I am. And I love more than anything, truly, just like connecting and having that dialogue. So I love when somebody like disagrees with something that I say, I'm like, great, tell me why. Yeah. And like, let's get into it. Maybe you can change my mind. I'm highly, highly agreeable, despite maybe what some of my content may suggest. But even with that though, too, the reason why I've come to some conclusions is due to the research that I do, that I love doing, and like, provide me with some new research, and I'm game. Like, I can join your side at any point in time. I'm just going with what makes the most sense to me at the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
So Jasmin Laine is awesome. Maybe controversial at times. I don't know. I don't really know 100% the answer, because I feel like me is very different to so many different people, depending on the relationship that I have with them or their interpretation of me.
It's a very difficult question, because especially for somebody like yourself who's on the radio, who's been given not given a personality, but has a personality, right? So when we ask that question to people, it's very difficult to answer it because they have their own stuff going on, right? But there's always the behind the scenes, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you. So the cool thing about you is that you always say this in your Instagram or on your, I think it's in your Instagram stories, and I think you've said it on your podcast as well. Your DMs are always open. Oh, yeah. You're always open to dialogue. You are open to chatting with people about different things, which is what kind of made me say, hey, do you want to chat? Because,
hey, we want to use you, free clout.
Free clout. That's
so
right.
Kidding. I'm
well,
so
we
kidding.
have so much clout. We're going to give it to you today.
You have way more followers and stuff than I do, so
we're just working on it right now. The views is the toughest part, right? Like,
I hear you.
And you've been figuring that out a lot, and I kind of know how it's working, but at the same time, we're not really in that space. I guess is what we don't really have, right?
It's hard.
Anytime we have controversial stuff on our show, so I'm going to ask you a couple of controversial things.
Okay.
Do you believe in the Mandela Effect?
I need you to refresh my memory on exactly what that defines.
So you guys actually kind of talked about it this morning. The hydrogen or hadron collider thing that Wheeler was talking about today.
Okay.
Turning that on. So like the rumor or the theory behind it is that there's 2 different universes. Or multiple universes that are going along a straight line. And when that thing got turned on, like in 2009, 2 universes came together.
And that's when all hell broke loose.
And, 2009. So before a lot of things happened.
Slightly before. You know what, though?
When the first recession happened.
Flow Rider came out with a song I really didn't like in 2009, so hell broke loose for me back then.
There you go.
We still play it on the radio today. I have not forgotten.
And you still get to play it. Yeah. But anyway, so there's things that you remember that other people remember differently. So that's the Mandela Effect. So for instance, like, Luke, I am your father.
The Monopoly guy.
He doesn't actually say, Luke, I am your father.
Yeah, which I...
So the evil witch in Snow White, what does she say to the mirror?
Now I don't even want to say what I think she said. Doesn't she say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Close, but not right. She says, magic mirror on the wall.
Had to be magic.
Which is crazy, right? Because in your brain, mirror, mirror on the wall is what we've always thought, right?
Have you ever met somebody who knew that wasn't somebody who was trying to get like a gotcha moment?
Apparently some people like Tim know the other side.
Well, he's lying. Look at him.
No. We've had this discussion. Okay, so just to give you some background about this, if you haven't gone and listened to some of our discussions, I think most of it's absolute ridiculous phooey.
But it gets views.
So I'm shocked by how many people are into this stuff, because it's just, to me, it's just misremembering things. Your brain is not a perfect computer system.
Did you ever watch Pinky and the Brain?
I
remember
did.
from Animaniacs?
I'm familiar with Pinky and the Brain for sure. I have like a really weird ghost story about Pinky and the Brain, which
Tell it.
Ghost
okay,
story?
no, this is going to sound absolutely psychotic.
That's
Perfect.
Okay, we're ready.
We are so derailing from what we were initially talking about.
This is derailing is all about what we are.
Okay, flash forward to circa 2002. 2002. That checks out. We had this cat that was a stray cat in our house.
Okay.
This is the scariest memory I have from my childhood. It might be a Mandela effect because it wasn't actually real, or some of it was, but not all of it. I don't know. I tried.
Fair.
So we had this like stray cat. My mom had like grabbed it off the side of the road, and we were bringing it to the vet or something later this day. And I couldn't find this freaking cat anywhere in our house. I'm a little young little tyke running around trying to find this cat. Couldn't find it. And I was convinced that this cat was under the stairs. And I swear to God, I heard like a sound underneath my mom's bed. So I was like, oh, the cat's not under the stairs. It's under mom's bed. Yeah. And I lifted up the underneath of the bed, as you shouldn't ever do, according to any horror movie ever.
Yeah. Nope, that's right.
Don't ever do that.
Don't.
I lifted it though, and you not. There was a Pinky in the Brain little rascal of a demon cat, and I swear it had like red eyes just glaring at me from under the bed. I screamed so loud. It was the most terrifying moment of my life, and the cat was under the stairs. It wasn't even in my mom's room at all. So I was like, Mom, what the hell is hiding underneath your bed? Is that like my twin sibling that I don't know about? Is this some American Horror Story stuff? What the hell is that? My mom's like, I don't know there's nothing under the bed. And I looked under the bed. There was nothing there. And I was like, I thought it was this cat that looked like the Pinky in the Brain. I don't know. I think it was Pinky is the one that he looked like the bleh.
Pinky is the
like
tall, skinny one,
yeah.
and then Brain, but they were mice.
Yeah, Brain was always trying to take over the world, and he asked
so
Pinky.
I'm gonna ask you a question then. Yeah. because I can never get Tim, because Tim always like, you're just misremembering it. What does the Brain say to Pinky? What is his famous line? Are you something what I'm
pondering
something?
What I'm pondering, Pinky?
See, and it's different.
And then he says, I don't know where we're going to find rubber gloves or size.
He actually says, are you pondering what I'm pondering? I always remember it as, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
So I guess... Sorry.
One of us has better hearing.
I just don't have a good enough imagination.
No, that is very valid though, because there's so many examples of that.
Pikachu's tail, does it have a black end on it? Black squiggly?
The regular Pikachu? I don't think it does. No, there's like the Thunderbolt Pikachu. Whatever that guy's called. It's like this. It's like the super. I was gonna say the super size. This isn't a McDonald's ad. Like the fancy Pikachu that when he
grows and becomes super.
Yeah. Pokemon fans know what I mean. Okay. No.
He doesn't, yeah.
He doesn't.
But a lot of people remember that he does. So it's weird, like the monocle on Monopoly Man, like you were saying there too.
Which he does have.
He doesn't have.
He does have it.
No.
Yes.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
100% he does not.
100% I'm gaslighting you. He does.
Okay.
I don't understand why you would say that.
And the what's the last one I was just thinking about? Monopoly Man, monocle, Curious George, does he have a tail or not?
Oh my god, he's a monkey. Of course he has a tail.
No tail.
Oh my god, who designed that guy?
Exactly. And I can't think of any more right now, but there's
the Shazam movie is a big one. Movie.
I believe that it happened.
Yeah, that's before my time, but whatever.
Gremlins isn't, but Shazam was
different. That was a classic.
Yeah, I guess.
But Shazam never existed. Gremlins never happened.
That would be
Can you imagine if Gremlins
like
never
I'm
happened?
in a coffin. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, if Gremlins never happened.
And like honestly, Gremlins and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh,
best movies in
We
my
were just
lifetime.
talking about Rick Moranis because we just went to see
Amazing.
Ghostbusters. We're like, we wish Rick
Yeah.
Moranis was in that.
Would have been
new
better.
movie,
It would have
but
been way
wasn't,
better.
yeah.
But it was a good movie. Have you seen the new Ghostbusters?
No, I haven't.
No.
I got very thrown off after the last one, that crappy one with like the farm.
Oh, okay. You
What
didn't
was
like
the-
that one?
What was that one
I thought
called?
you were gonna say
After
the one with all
something?
the women in it.
Afterlife.
Yeah.
The one with all the women in it got a lot of hate, and
It was
I understand like why some people would maybe hate on that one because they replaced the cast, and there's like
Yeah.
that whole like Disney replacing everybody thing. So like I could understand why some people would resent that one, but I didn't hate that. I hated
liked it. I liked it too. I didn't mind.
I didn't think it was bad.
No,
I
thought
remember
it was funny.
Yeah, I watched it and I was like, yeah, you replaced the cast. It's a bit of a different movie.
Yes.
Effects are great. Most of the comedy is
it felt like
great.
a spoof though on the
It
movie.
was a
Like,
comedy.
It didn't
Yes,
feel like
Yeah.
it
it
was different.
Yeah.
I thought it was
was.
fine
It
though.
wasn't a bad movie. Though.
No, I'd watch it again.
Yeah, me too.
Fair enough.
Later on tonight, after the
You're gonna
taping.
watch that today?
We're all gonna watch it.
Afterlife, on the other hand, did not like.
No?
No, that movie sucked.
Frozen Empire, then you may not like, but it has a lot of the old guys in it.
Well, and they have the cute little marshmallows.
Yes.
Yes, they are
do.
in it.
Yeah. I love the girl who does the voice acting for those guys.
There's a girl that does voice acting for the
Yeah,
Marshmallows.
yeah, she's the same girl that does the voice acting who plays Tommy in Rugrats. It's the same girl who voice acts the little marshmallow mufflin. I don't know what it's called. Michelin Man.
No, the Stay Puft Marshmallow
That
Man.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is actually voiced by a lovely lady. Yeah, she's been a voice actor for many
Interesting.
years. Very cool.
Huh.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
I think that's enough of Mandela Effect, though, right?
Oh yes, any
He
amount
hates-
of time
he hates
on the
the
Mandela
Mandela
Effect is
Effect.
enough time for. the
So
Mandela
we
Effect.
have like multiple topics that we've talked about that are very popular, and we generally bring them up to some of our guests just to see how they react to like the Mandela Effect. The moon landing, you guys talked about it briefly this morning
Fake
as
news.
well. Fake.
Yeah.
Did
110%.
you say that to Tim?
Fake news.
Which part's fake news?
You know what? I do believe very similar. Actually, Wheeler and I have a pretty similar outlook on this. Like he believes and he believes that we did absolutely go to the moon, but just likely not in the late 60s when they
That
was the late
recording
60s,
you
right?
feel
Yeah,
is fake.
yeah. That for me, I don't know that I believe that we have actually ever been to the moon. And the reason, and this is also silly, and again, I could be disproved. I'm fine with I'm not going to die on this one.
Yep.
But just when I look at the evidence, how did we how that was what 50 plus years ago?
Yep.
Like how on earth did we go to the moon then with the technology that like cell phones weren't invented
Yeah.
then?
61 years. Yeah.
Like how is that even humanly possible?
Yeah.
And then we haven't been able to recreate it. And then more than that as well, in the weird event that just miraculously we did happen to go, even though we haven't been able to since, at least put humans on there. I don't know, like, why would there be such a huge hype over it now?
Yeah.
Like, if this is something that countries have been doing for 61 years, why is
Did
it such a big deal every
Have you
single
seen the
time?
new trailer?
For
It's not an actual trailer, but NASA has put out a video, and Tim actually sent it to me.
I'm Victor Glover. I'm the pilot.
I'm Reed Wiseman. I'm the commander for the Artemis 2 mission to the moon.
to the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
And they're going to the moon this year unmanned.
Okay.
And then next year they're going to be manned again, going to the moon. And it looks like a trailer for a movie that
Okay.
NASA is putting out about going to the moon. And
See?
it just makes you feel more like, but he's on pro moon.
I think that if someone didn't think we actually went to the moon, short of someone taking them to the moon, there is nothing anyone could ever say or show to them that would make them think they did.
I think I could be easily swayed, but I would be interested in reading like research and stuff into how it was that we were able to do it and not do it since.
Yeah.
Like I would be curious to know like, oh, well, we did it, but here were these catastrophic failures. Everybody nearly died. This thing almost blew up. We almost didn't make it back.
Yeah.
If there was information like that made it really public or that was public, and I was then able to be like, oh, okay, no, that makes sense. That we would do our due diligence and make sure, not to rush into it again, because that was almost a really bad situation. I could be like, okay, yeah,
Well,
that
the
makes
documentary
sense.
with Scarlett Johansson comes out later on in the year.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The documentary.
Seriously, though.
Yeah, it looks
Like,
it
I
looks
feel like
fun.
at the end of that movie, I don't even remember what it's called. At the end of that movie, I swear, like, Scarlett Johansson's just going to be like, That's it, folks. You were right.
And Greg will watch it because it's with Scarlett Johansson.
Yes. Yeah. Much like Wheeler, Scarlett Johansson is one of those ones, right? So, so I think we should talk about actual subjects then.
You want to do the other thing afterwards, not in the middle?
I don't want to do the other thing afterwards. I want to be in the middle.
The other thing.
Okay.
Well, we do what's called a lightning round, which is this or that.
Okay.
Greg, so we typically do this at the end of every interview, but Greg said, I want to do this in the middle. So we're going to
it'll get us more insight into you as well.
So this is a lightning
Depending
round
on your answers.
where I have about 20 things.
Okay.
Where I'm going to give you this or that, 2 things, and you have to choose one of them.
Easy.
And if you want to go into deeper explanation about one of them, you can, or you can just pass to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Let's rock.
All right. Paintballing or go-karting?
Paintballing.
Instagram or TikTok?
Neither.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Family Guy or The Simpsons?
Family Guy. Dude, come on.
I agree. You're right. Switch on a TV or Switch portable?
Ooh.
See, and I asked Lorraine this question, and she didn't understand it. So that's the generation.
No, listen, I actually don't understand. This is when he wrote, I'm reading it, I don't understand.
You're like,
it.
switch on the TV or switch on the portable? What the heck
But
are you
to
switching
that's
on?
a hard question.
Yeah, that is a hard question. I would say portable primarily. However, I do love a good TV.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the Switch is a video game system, Tim.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would know.
Mm-hmm.
Video games or Netflix?
Video games. Yeah, video games.
You can't have the other one.
Video games, yeah. I'm sorry.
So when you pick these, you're picking them like you can't have the other one.
Wait, what about games? What games come with the video games? Like, just all the games on the video game?
Like all the video games.
You may ask any follow-up question to any of these questions.
Okay.
That's fair. Is that a final answer?
Mm-hmm.
Video games.
Video games it is. Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins?
I don't know who either of those people are.
Wow. Okay.
Tony Robbins, that sounds familiar. Who's Tony Robbins? Was he a dance guy?
Tony Robbins is that big, tall,
just leave it at that.
Inspirational guy with a deep voice.
Tony Robbins! I love that guy.
And Gary Vaynerchuk is the CEO of VaynerMedia, big social media guy.
I don't know who that is.
And he swears a lot.
He swears a lot?
Yeah.
Is he bald?
Nope.
Oh.
Big New York Jets guy. He's from New York. You actually like him if you watched his stuff.
I love that guy.
Yeah. But
which one?
Though? We will go with 0 of those.
No,
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I just didn't recognize who was what. I didn't know what he was about.
Okay,
for a second.
You pick either one. You're giving her a hard time. Mountain climber or beach bum?
I don't think I can make a. I don't think I can. Nope.
You can't pick one.
Ooh.
No, you have to pick this one.
Mountain climbing or beach bum?
You have to do it.
Ooh, my God, that's really tough. Like, if this was a life or death, I would probably choose death because I couldn't.
You don't want to do either of those.
No, I want to do both of them so bad. I couldn't pick between the two.
You have 24 hours, and you can either climb a mountain or you can sit on a beach for
24 hours. Climb a mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Chocolate or chips?
Why are you doing me like this? Oh my gosh, that's also so hard. Chips, Doritos. Yep.
Okay, chips. Okay. Fancy dinner out or skip the dishes and a movie in your sweatpants?
Skip the dishes, baby. We gotta save money.
This is for
skip the dishes saves money?
No, it doesn't.
Wait a minute.
But my sweatpants does. Think about all the money I'm saving on clothes.
Yeah, I would say it is. Going out to dinner costs a lot of money these days. This is for dating purposes. Jocks or nerds?
Nerds.
Okay, explain.
No, I mean jocks just suck.
Well, she can do everything. She can build a house.
Yeah, I don't need them. I can't fix in a car.
Oh,
nope, that's what my brothers are for. I would say nerds for sure. I love somebody who's really intelligent. I love somebody that I can just like talk to about everything. So someone who isn't super like when I think of a jock, I think of somebody who's a little bit more superficial. Maybe doesn't have a whole lot of interests outside of like, I'm going to go to a party tonight, bro. And I'm still going to wake up for practice tomorrow. Yeah, man, my ex is texting me. Do you think I should tell my girlfriend? Like,
You're not into that.
No.
I'm going to skip this one because you said you don't like either before.
Well, no, you got to still ask.
What?
Jets or Bombers?
Jets. Yeah. I do like hockey. I actually do. I love hockey, and soccer is my favorite sport to watch when I'm intoxicated.
Soccer?
Wait. When you're intoxicated,
Yeah, exclusively.
you should have went with us to Orlando.
Us,
Wow,
the 8
thanks.
guys and Jasmine.
Listen,
That was
No,
listen. I have
listen.
older brothers. I would have fit in just fine.
We went to the Orlando City soccer match.
Amazing.
Okay, backtrack.
But there's a reason.
We were staying in Tampa at the time, which is
Okay.
not in Orlando.
No.
It's actually
No.
a couple
Far away.
hours drive.
Yeah.
Like 3 hours away. And we're sitting at a meeting trying to decide with all the 8 guys what we're going to do because we all have different interests. And one of the guys pipes up and says, you know that Orlando FC is playing Austin FC, and afterwards they're doing I Love the 90s concert. And it was with Vanilla Ice and Montel Jordan and Rob Bass. And the tickets are for the whole thing is like $16 each.
Yep.
And we're like,
For the soccer game.
well, yeah.
And then the concert's free.
What?
Yeah.
Man,
and the funny
Florida
thing
is
is-
what's up.
There's only like 5,000 people that stayed for the concert.
Wow.
Like there was probably like 25,000 people for the soccer game.
Yeah.
5,000 stayed for the concert.
That's incredible. I love that.
And it was a good soccer game too.
Yeah.
None of us really love soccer, but
Yeah. I don't really know anything about soccer. I just I truly enjoy watching soccer.
Right.
There is nothing greater than watching like a full-grown multimillionaire man
Right.
get poked on the shoulder and going, "Oh!"
And falling down.
Oh my God, my children, tell them I love them. Oh, ref. It's the most entertaining sport in the world.
yeah, and more so when you're drunk. You said.
Yeah. Tennis is another one I also
Is there a drinking soccer game?
I was
See,
gonna
now
say
we're really getting into who Jasmin Laine
I was
is.
gonna say every single time somebody falls down, take
Have
a
a
shot,
shot.
but you would not be able to open your eyes. So that's a terrible idea.
That's almost as bad as drunk marathons with Tim.
Yeah, but it was just I just mentioned it. I have not done a drunk. Have you heard of drunk marathons?
Like where you run them
where
drunk?
Where you
You
do
take
like
a shot
no,
after every mile.
You take a shot after every mile for 26.2 miles.
So you drink 26 ounces of
So
alcohol.
that
These
would
exist.
be out of
These
you
exist.
though. Like by the end, I feel like that wouldn't even do anything to you. You'd sweat that out
Yeah,
so
because
fast.
You
Right.
ran with 13 ounces of alcohol in you?
I mean, probably at some point in heels. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's right. But of course, you'd be dehydrated. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. But you'd have to have lots of water. So, and only one of us on our trip were drunk.
Yes.
Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro?
Candace Owens.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
No, that's wrong. Sports, sports or concerts?
Like live events?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, again, I don't even like sports, but I would pick sports.
Over concerts.
I would. So, like, even though I'm not a huge fan and I may not know all the details and stuff, I love the atmosphere and the energy. Like, there's something about it. Even like, I do know hockey. There's a few sports that I'm familiar with. Just like football is probably the only one that I really don't care about.
Really?
Do you like baseball?
No.
So football and
So
baseball.
it's football and baseball.
Yeah, but like tennis. Yup. Soccer. Yup.
Tennis.
I like
Oh.
tennis. I'm a big tennis guy too.
I've been playing tennis for
We know you're
13
not.
years.
Hey,
I
there you
love
go.
tennis.
13 years, wow.
Yeah. Tennis is a great sport.
Oh, it's,
so
it's a great sport to play too. I
It's
just
so
can't
much
get my
fun.
serve over.
Okay.
you should work. That's not okay.
Just can't get it over. Cold plunge or hot sauna?
Cold plunge.
The Office or Friends?
Neither.
Wow.
Oh God, anything but The Office. Why did you have to say it? The second you said that, all I could hear is no. I hate that theme song. I loathe it.
So you can't stand
But
either.
you don't like Friends either?
No, Friends
You can say sucks.
sucks.
Okay.
Not if I
That's a hot
truly.
take. That's a hot take.
It is.
Were they good for their
Friends
time?
socks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, can we cut that out, please? And the second last one, because you were going to say.
Let's
another
add
one.
a third to this.
Yes, that's
Oh,
what I'm going to
God.
do.
You're gonna add. Okay, go ahead.
To this is exact one, or to another one too.
A third option to this one.
Tim Hortons, Starbucks, or
McDonald's for coffee.
McDonald's.
Wow.
and you were going to have one more. You were going to say Wheeler or.
Oh right. So paintballing or go karting.
Yeah,
Paintballing with Wheeler or go karting with Tyler.
I would a million times choose paintballing with Wheeler.
Yeah.
Oh, he has a great competitive edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just in general, Wheeler or Tyler?
Honestly, that is such a hard thing to answer because both of them.
Don't worry, they don't listen to the podcast.
They will when they know I'm on this. They'll be like, "Oh, you were on it? I'm gonna listen to the whole thing. What did you say?"
I'll send it to Tyler directly. His DMs are also open.
No, honestly, I would say both of them. It's so impossible to pick between the two. I've been working with them for almost 4 years now. I've known Wheeler for far longer than Tyler because I used to work with him when I worked at 92.1 City.
Okay.
But they both offer so many different things to my life, like to the polar opposites of the spectrum. So it's really hard to pick one or the other. Like Tyler is really great in terms of like that idea maker, motivator, somebody who's like, there's so many things that he knows. He's great to game with. Like him and my boyfriend get along better than I get along with either of them. I'm kidding. Not too much. But so like Tyler's really great in that way, whereas like Wheeler is like the type of guy, especially politically controversial, controversy wise and stuff. Like there's so much that him and I can talk about together that we understand, and so even for him, just on an educational basis, like there's so much that Wheeler has taught me about the industry and like just life as a whole, and things that I'm sure Tyler could maybe teach me one day too, but he's closer in age with me, so there's just not as much to take away from that outside of just being like a friend, whereas Dave is really like a mentor in some ways. So that's a really tough one to pick because they're both so different.
Yeah.
So different.
Well, it would have been surprising if you just said one really quickly. Okay.
I should have. Now I regret
Wheeler.
that. Yeah.
Okay, cut. So Wheeler or Tyler?
Wheeler.
So you talk about Wheeler teaching you stuff and teaching you more about politically, Wheeler's controversial, right?
It depends.
Back in the day, he was controversial.
It depends.
Less.
I would argue, if anything, with how the nature of the world has gone, he and myself are probably more controversial now than we were 10 years ago.
Yes, like some of your stuff now has become a little bit more... And when I watch it, I'm thinking to myself, it's different from somebody from the media to come out and start talking the way you're talking, if that makes sense.
Do you love it or hate it?
I personally love it. So we are, like some of the things that you're talking about right now is very much along the lines of some things that I've talked about with friend groups in friend groups.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
Right. So, and it's tougher to say it out loud than it is to say it just to your friends. Right. And also you find that you get a lot more friends that, the statement confirmation bias?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So you get a lot more people in your feed that have that confirmation bias that it's helping you along the way. So do you feel that that confirmation bias has given you some of your like content? Like, have you been looking up that kind of content and has it been confirming what your thoughts are? Or is this something that you're looking up because you already believed it?
Can I just interject for 2 seconds?
Of course.
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, based on confirmation bias, we hang around people who think and believe some of the similar things that we do.
You become the company you keep.
So based on that, can I backtrack and say, do you find that you do have a friend group or a circle of people that you associate with that do, or do you have a more wide-ranging political thinking group that surrounds you?
I have a very, very diverse group of friends, for sure. So confirmation bias for me would certainly not come into play in terms of the people that I associate with on a day-to-day basis. But in terms of the comments you get on certain videos of people who agree with that, absolutely. However, I would say it is... it's interesting to me because, if you are somebody who is, let's say, more left-leaning, maybe if you want to go political terms, NDP liberal, if you're somebody who leans more that way, you are filled with a lot of confirmation bias, and that's about it. Whereas if you are somebody who leans more to the right, or you're moderate in the center, libertarian, moderate conservative, that's kind of where I would consider myself. You don't get as much confirmation bias. Actually, you
have to dig for it.
There's people who support you you, but they support you in silent because they're scared.
Yeah.
As you know, many people are before they actually start speaking out about some of these things, not everything, but some things that are really highly important. And so I find that in terms of my take on a lot of things that are going on politically, even in regards to mental health and just like some of the failures of the system and the failures of mental health advice that people give you that is really bad for you. When you really break it down and think about it, there was a bunch of, as an example, in recent years, it was a study that was done over the last 20 years or so. There are psychologists now who have confirmed, they've done thousands and thousands of research, different types of research in this field, where they have been able to determine that in your brain, there is no difference in the signals that it generates in somebody who is miserable and somebody who is thinking about themselves. Like they generate the same wavelengths. And so for me, it's something I see a lot, people who are like really prideful and people who like really like to shove things down your throat and whatever. Those people are often quite miserable in real life. And a lot of that has to do with really thinking about yourself constantly and just like the ramifications of that. And so that's something I think that would probably drive a lot of, on the mental health side, something that drives a lot of my opinions. Because I've seen how harmful that is. I've been that person before where I'm like hyper obsessed with like, what if I screw this up? I don't know what I'm going to do. What are people going to think about me? Oh, I'm perfect. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. And it's terrible. It's like this terrible cycle. I don't remember exactly why I jumped onto that, but either way, fun fact for you guys.
For sure. So like something like you're doing right now, did you have those thoughts?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You know what? I would say, and again, it's kind of like what I said at the beginning, where people have this idea of me based on the person that I portray, depending on what's needed from me. And that's not to say that person is fake. It's a portion of me. It's not all of me. You play it up, you play it down, but it's a portion. And so I think for me, I've always been really, really interested in politics. I recall when I was 14 telling my mom who I was going to vote for in the election, and she's like, "You're 14, chill." And my mom has actually always said to me, if you weren't
Do you recall who you're going to vote for?
It was, he had died. Jack Layton, I think was his name. NDP, and he passed away, and I loved him.
Yeah.
A lot of people did.
He was very well loved.
He was wonderful. I wouldn't even typically abide by NDP for the most part either. I think NDP is maybe...
You liked his personality.
Yeah.
And people say that all the time. They didn't really agree with his politics, but he was just a great
he was really great. So my mom has always told me though, like, oh, if you weren't in radio, you would have definitely been a lawyer or something like that. Because I've always loved researching, and I've always been really into that kind of stuff. Even I recall when I was in grade 3, I did a big class presentation on the harms of methamphetamine.
Okay.
I was in grade 3, but I had heard about methamphetamine and I researched it to death, and I wanted to tell my class about it to save them. And additionally too, when in
a small town.
where literally nobody does anything bad because there's nothing bad. Like, well, what are you doing this Friday night? I don't know. I'm probably going to pick eggs out of the hen house. Like
cow tipping. Cow tipping.
Did you know that cow tipping doesn't exist?
It's insane. It's impossible.
It's a Mandela Effect.
It's impossible. You literally couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Have you ever even, you
would need
tried
like 6,000 pounds of force to tip over a cow?
It's impossible. And it would be mean. So you shouldn't do that anyway.
To the person trying to tip the cow.
And cows generally, when they sleep, they don't sleep very deep when they're standing. They sleep deeper when they're sitting or when they're laying down. So you can't actually tip a cow. The cow would move before you could even...
Yeah, not even remotely surprised to hear that.
Sorry, totally different.
Mandela Effect.
It's like drinking 4 liters of chocolate milk in an hour. It can't be done.
You can't do it. We've seen it tried.
I've heard it can be done. But anyway, I digress.
It cannot be done.
So quick question, going back to the political field, you referenced possibly voting NDP back in the day. And recently, you're more active on social media, and you've referenced Pierre Poilievre. I always met Polyev, sorry.
That's fine.
Tucker Carlson in the last few. Do you find yourself that you are gravitating more from centralist politically to right-wing leading individual with those kinds of thoughts and beliefs?
I would say that I have always been a moderate conservative. I would always describe myself as that, even when I was a teenager.
Okay.
Libertarian, you know what, maybe even there I'm a little bit in there because I'm still a pretty like reasonable and compassionate person, sometimes to a fault.
Yeah.
But also I think the reason why I do tend to gravitate towards conservative views is due to my religion. Like I'm religious. I have been my whole life. And in recent years, I've certainly become much deeper in my faith than I ever was before. And I think there's a lot of things too where I don't know. It's just like, it's even actually on that note, it's so fascinating to me because I've seen with let's just use Canada as an example. There are a lot of politics that have gotten involved in, let's say, the school system, the education system. And there are things that were removed by the Liberal government that are now being brought back in the form of law and like legislation. Whereas the things that they had removed would have been teaching religious practices in school.
Yeah.
And the law that they're introducing is essentially the exact same stuff that the Bible's always taught us.
Yeah.
And so I see things like that, and suddenly I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because you used to teach people these things, and a lot of people abided by them. And then you stopped, and now you're reintroducing essentially the exact same ideas, but in a form of law where like people can be fined $20,000 and people can lose their whole lives and people can be canceled, and like you're forcing people to think.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I've ever enjoyed that. And it's really a damn shame too, because kind of like what I was saying a little bit earlier, I don't think that I had like fully expanded on this, but you know, when I was more of a liberal type person, I don't want to talk about it. Not for me.
Closet conservative.
Yeah, like and two, that's also just, you know, I just didn't care as much, and the older I get, the more I care, as I think many people do. But back then, you know, I didn't really have anybody that ever came at me for anything whatsoever. Even though I was like a liberal and there were conservatives that I knew, nobody ever really talked to me about it. Whereas now that I've started to express some more of those really common sense things, or just like it's like, well, that's reasonable and logical to me. Yeah. It's crazy to see like all of the liberal people that once supported me now calling me every Istanphobe they can. Yeah. And it's like, okay, chill.
So how, I guess the question would be like, you are a public personality, right? Do you worry?
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
You have somebody like Wheeler in your camp, obviously, because I think I listened to another interview that you did where you knew the program director and Wheeler previously, correct? And that's like before.
Oh, yes,
Energy 106,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So you obviously have a great relationship with the people at your radio station and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So do you feel that there's certain things that you want to say on the radio too?
All the time. Yeah. All the time. But also, like, I feel like, you know, people, you say that and I can say that and it's like this generic, oh yeah, all the time. Look at Jasmin Laine, right-wing extremist. I don't know. But like, it's not like it's even anything that's overly pressing per se, but sometimes just different things. Like it irritates me a lot too. You know, when people kind of like crap all over religions, that's a big one. And for me too, like I have my faith and that's been my own journey. I am fully supportive and understand that not everybody is on that same road. I haven't always been on that road. It's something I've known my whole life, but it really wasn't until like I wanted to end my life that I somehow saw that light at the end of the tunnel, and my life has been really good ever since I started following that light. Yeah. And so for me, it made a lot of sense. And I believe like if that's your journey, you're going to find it whenever. It's not up to me to tell you about that. Yeah. But I see a lot of things in the music that we play, and you know, even the way that like certain music videos go and all these things, and even some of the narratives, that are especially expressed in music, in celebrities' personal lives, the way that the media kind of grabs those headlines, like those types of things I really want to talk about. Like, Ariana Grande as an example, her new boyfriend, Ethan Slater, he was married. He had a baby that was under a year old, if I'm not mistaken. And he met Ariana Grande, and he started, by all accounts, it appears that there was an affair. We don't know that to be true. They've both denied that there was an affair, but it seems like there was, especially because Ethan Slater's estranged wife came out afterwards saying she only found out about him seeing Ariana Grande after tabloid photos caught them. Okay. And then Ethan Slater, a man who she had been with for years, came home and gave her divorce papers. And she was like, what? And just completely pulled the rug out from under her. And in the media that was expressed, there were certainly some people calling out Ariana Grande for it, but then flash forward a few months, Ariana Grande comes out with this song, and the lyrics are like, excuse the language, but the lyrics are like, why do you care whose I ride, or something like that, and it was being like praised as this anthem about, oh yeah, live your best life, girl. Yeah. And so things like that, I'm like, that's really yucky. And don't get me wrong, sure, people can be together and maybe fall out of it. You can be tempted, you can be swayed perhaps. So for him, no, wanted to be with Ariana Grande, think of the doors that could open for you. On top of, if you actually do really get along with her, sure, I can show you some compassion there. But it was like the response afterwards in the media that just left a really bad taste in my mouth, and I really didn't like that, especially too, like I deeply value marriage. I deeply value what that means. And I always have, even prior to me being as religious as I consider myself to be now. That is something that is very important to me. And it's something too that's like, it's just so important to society being functional and things working in so many ways, like happy wife, happy life. But truly, it's like when you have somebody that really supports you, like imagine if every single person on this planet had a partner that was just their absolute rock. Yeah. Like,
she's not watching right now. But.
She's texting, it's fine. She's texting somebody being like, oh my God, this girl Jasmin's talking about me right now.
She's Googling
but
it.
So I to me, it's like, I really value that. And I think it's so important that people do place emphasis on things like that really, really matter. Yeah. And yes.
So you're going into mental health now. I know that you mentioned your own journey, and I think you had a close friend that took her life as well that you've talked about in previous interviews.
Yeah, it was my ex-boyfriend. We were together 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't actually mean to go into that as
That's fine. It's fine.
So you are super passionate about mental health awareness, and because of the things that you've gone through. What do you think of the topic Canadian healthcare system? And to me, how it seems is that there is no quote unquote cure for mental illness. There is only management through pills that you need to take every day for the rest of your life, and that you are simply masking those symptoms, and you can't actually quote unquote again cure mental illness. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say it would be very important for people who look into that sort of thing to go into the data and figure out just how much money the government and health professionals are making from the pharmaceutical companies that they are promoting. That's something that's really crazy when you really start to look at those numbers and kind of see where they all track back to. It's no surprise to me whatsoever that medication is something that's so widely pushed. And having said that, I'm not someone who's against it. I mean, I've been on antidepressants for a good chunk of my life. And I'm absolutely better because of it. I think there's a lot of people out there too that because they are afraid to go on medications to treat their symptoms, they end up having crises. They have mental health emergencies because of that, because it's such a weird taboo thing, which that's one thing about this whole process that I don't know that I'll ever really be able to understand. And that sucks for me. It's like, I'm almost like ignorant to it, because for me, I'm just so open to it. And it's like, I just don't understand how people can't be. But having said that, I certainly don't think that the only option. Is like, I also think too, the messaging that sends to a lot of people is like, oh, so you're totally screwed, by the way.
For the whole life.
For the rest of your life, you're super screwed unless you buy these pills. Come get happy pills. Available now at your local pharmacy. They'll make you happy. Like, that's ridiculous to me. I think that it totally depends on the type though too, right? You know, I think a lot of medications are very much overprescribed nowadays. You know, like cancel me. But like I've had ADHD for as long as I can remember. I've been on medication for it since I was 5 years old. I've had ADHD since before it was cool. It's crippling. It sucks. Like it is one of the worst things in the world to not be medicated for something like that, and to be having conversations with people and you're there and you're paying attention, but you're not there and you're not paying attention. Like it is humiliating. It's so awful. And obviously there's extreme cases of that. Whereas like nowadays having ADHD is so cool. Like everybody on TikTok and their mom, oh my God, my kid has ADHD.
Yeah. And they're all talking about their prescriptions.
But to me, it's like, no, like there are very real people who do actually struggle with some things. And could you have a symptom of it? Sure. I'm not saying that you don't, but there's a lot of really weird things going on with how pharmaceuticals are advertised and marketed and become trendy. Because to me, it's not, I don't want anybody to ever feel ashamed, but also it's not like that's like, we should all just be like happy to like live a really great life. You know, like it shouldn't be like oh, well, I got this prescription and this prescription. I'm so messed up, right? Like that's not that, but the people like that exist. And I think that that's really harmful, especially to like younger people.
It feels like prescriptions or like pharmaceuticals are on TV so much now compared to what was when we were kids. Like we used to have cigarettes on TV and those got banned, you know, like alcohol is not as promoted. Like it used to be the Labatt's Briar, right? Now it's the Scotties, whatever. But do you feel like the pharmaceutical industry will eventually catch up to itself? And people are going to say, no, we can't have this on TV anymore?
No, I wish that would happen, but money talks and they have a lot of money.
Yeah, but smoking did too.
Smoking is still though, like if you like maybe in the West, but if you go to like I go to Europe usually once a year or so. I don't know how. My bank account help me. But I try my best to go to Europe about once a year or so. And everybody smokes in Europe. Yeah. Like vaping, no such thing in Europe. It is impossible to find somewhere to vape.
But you can't advertise it anymore.
People do though. Like you find ways, or even like with influencers and stuff like that. Like like businesses find ways to advertise it. And honestly, I know that these ones are also like, I totally understand that the intent of them is to discourage people from adopting a habit, but even like the smoking kills, all of those things. Like how many young teenagers do you know that would see something like that and be like, oh, well, my uncle does it. I'm going to steal one of his. I'm going to see, does it kill? Like there's so many just weird little things that by like introducing people to something, even in a way that's discouraging, can still be encouraging, which is very weird. That would kind of be like my thoughts on that. Like I
found that pharmaceutical commercials have gotten weird.
Yes.
Like, have you seen the new Rybelsus?
No, I haven't.
One, where the girl's like, I take Rybelsus. And then the coffee barista goes, large double for Rybelsus. I mean, Rebecca. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And it doesn't even tell you what the drug is.
That's really
silly. Just like...
They never have, really. It's super cool. Ask your doctor, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same one that's always on the boards for the Jets games, the diabetes medication. Ozempic.
Wait, what? That's on boards at Jets games?
Yeah.
And on the Jays yesterday.
Shut up. Are you serious?
Yeah. So like during the
oh, that's ugly.
Yeah. But the thing is, Ozempic was on there for like the last 2 years and nobody knew what it was for the first year.
Oh.
And it always said, ask your doctor if Ozempic's right for you. And it's like, well, I don't even know what it is. How do I ask him if it's right for me, right? But it's a diabetes medication. People are using it for weight loss and they're using it for wrong things, right? And now it's coming out that it might be bad for you, and obviously,
nobody.
Drug, right?
Some great stomach paralysis.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Splenda is bad.
Gosh,
Splenda.
You know what's crazy about Ozempic in Canada as well, especially at Jets games and stuff, which is really fascinating. like I have a condition that I've never really talked about much, but something that can actually help fight some of my symptoms is certain types of diabetes medication.
Okay.
I typically don't enjoy taking them, and I just live with my symptoms anyway because the diabetes medication makes me feel really sick. But I've had conversations with my doctor about Ozempic, and there's a few other brands as well out there. And the conclusion there is, oh God, no, like let's not mess with that unless you really, really need that. And I'm like, I don't really, really need it. I was just wondering, like, I'm fine.
I was told to ask you about it.
The Jets told me. But the thing about that's really fascinating is in Manitoba, insurance companies don't really cover Ozempic, and it's very expensive.
Oh,
like
really?
we're talking thousands of dollars a month. Like it's very expensive. So I'm really surprised that that's even something, especially because insurers don't cover it. It's like almost some do, but
accountant.
yeah, right. Like some do, but the vast majority don't.
Ask your accountant if you can afford it. Ozempic and Europe at the same time.
And groceries.
Who cares?
groceries.
I'm going anyway.
And groceries.
I just wanted to get back though to kind of finish the answer initially there, but I really do think that in terms of any type of a medical professional out there telling you like, oh, you're screwed essentially unless you take these pills, like there are absolutely conditions that are very hard to try to figure out a solution for. And oftentimes, especially when it comes to depression or something like that, you could be dealing with people who might also have various types of personality disorders. Like there could be so many things, childhood trauma, all these things. And I think that and even this might be a little risky to say, but I think that in order to have a really flourishing society, I think it's really important sometimes to tackle the things that are really hard. Yeah. And that sounds much more easier said than done. And I fully recognize that it's a case-by-case basis, right? Yeah. Even myself, I've been on medications to treat that, and I'm far better with them. And so if that's your outlet, great. However, I would totally encourage you to try all sorts of other things while you're at it.
I have a really good, and the reason I asked this question is not specifically just because of your history and being passionate about it, which we can tell is awesome. I have a really good friend who had a psychotic break and went to the hospital, and the doctor looked at him and his wife and said, well, you might as well just leave him because he's done.
That's disgusting.
And he's going to be, at best, he's going to be on medication for the rest of his life. And his life is basically over. We can't do anything for him. That's it.
But to me too, I don't even know that I believe them saying that. To me, those are doctors who swore an oath who failed.
Right. And the issue is in Canada, like if you break your leg in Canada, you go and you get a scan. It says it's broken in these places. We're going to put a scan, and you come back, and then we're going to do another scan that says, yes, it's healed. We can take the cast off. But for mental illness, we say, well, how do you feel today?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to give you one of these, circle the dial and spin the wheel about which medication you're going to get, right? And my friend actually went to find a place not in our country who actually scan their brain waves. This is where this and this are, and we're going to put you on this diet. We're going to give you this medication. It wasn't completely devoid of all medications, but this diet, this medication, you're going to do this, and come see me in 8 and 6 weeks, and we're going to see where your levels are, right? But anyways, that's why I asked you that question. That was my motivation.
Yeah,
I know that your history in that.
Let's also think about the fact though too, like how many Manitobans, if we're just going to speak to our province, I understand the audience is likely not all from here, but how many Manitobans even have a family doctor? How many are actually just seeing walk-ins? Yeah. How many have good insurance? How many have potentially been, a little unmotivated to go because they're afraid? Yeah. It is true. It's a whole failure of the medical system. And there's very good people that work in the medical system, but they can only work as good as what they can offer. Yeah. And a lot of those resources we don't have. Like we have people waiting 30 plus hours in an emergency room. We have people dying in waiting rooms. It's horrible. And thank God the number isn't higher than it is, but it's a horrible, horrible number. Yeah. So how on earth could you possibly actually take the time to deal with things that need to be dealt with? And then you also top that off with people, and that's just the whole thing too, just the messaging behind it. Like, you're not hopeless. Your life isn't done. You would be amazed how incredibly resilient human beings can be. And I understand, again, every situation is so different, and you can absolutely be failed time and time again by the relationships that you have in your life, the medical professionals you see, the YouTube videos you watch, like depending on what kind of stuff you're looking at for information, there's so many different ways that you can be failed. And that's why it's so important that you really keep an eye out for the people that you love and even the people you don't.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea how many people are literally dying for lack of an encouraging word.
Yeah.
Like, to just go up to somebody at work, maybe somebody that you haven't really been getting along with lately, you're kind of annoyed by them, and to just say, good job. You have no idea the impact that can make in somebody's life for like a month, maybe even longer than that. They're going to remember that good job from you because you were somebody that they weren't really getting along with. You know, like, there's so much that you can do even on a really bare bones level that can improve somebody's mood and self-worth so rapidly. And we live in a society where it's so easy to tear people down versus how it's just as easy to lift them up. But we don't do that for some reason.
Yeah.
How much has your mindset and opinions, either politically, health-related, etc., changed since the time
thing we don't talk
the
about?
Time and the C word that we don't talk about.
I like 110%, like from a 0 to 100 for sure. I would say, yeah. You know what though? Every person, it's like at some point in your life, you have that awakening moment where suddenly you're like, whoa, I've been really messing up. I got to point that finger back at me. What can I do better here?
Yeah.
And that was certainly a huge moment for me. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, just like how fast your life can change in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Like, that's
that day.
It's
literally
crazy.
Was a day, and things changed so quickly, right?
Like, immediately.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, like, I'm forever a different person.
Yeah.
How have you changed?
I mean, I certainly think that I don't want to be quiet about things as much as I ever wanted to before. Like, I was open, like I've always been really passionate about this stuff, and I've given hints of it here and there, but it just completely changed my soul and like my approach to so many things. I think honestly, probably one of the biggest ways that I've realized I've changed, my therapist summed this up. I've talked about this in some videos as well, but I remember I was talking to my therapist on the phone one day, and I had said to her, I was like, I don't really know what to do. I don't think this is ever going to get better. This is just my life now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this horrible pit of like, holy hell.
You're at the bottom.
How it doesn't get any better. Like, you try to like think of your life in 10 years and you're like, yeah, no, it's just, this is it.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I got to stick around because I don't want my parents to go through that. So I'm here. How do I manage? And I remember my therapist said to me, she said, grief is really funny in how it changes the things that matter to you. And suddenly things that were so important don't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And things that meant nothing mean everything. And that's always really stuck with me because that's certainly something, it's interesting. Like my Instagram account, as an example before, I used to get like so many more likes. I used so many more followers than I have now. My Instagram account also got hacked, so that sucks. But like I also too, back then I was younger, sure, but like I knew that I knew the things that would do well. So I would be more inclined perhaps to post oh my God, here's a picture of me getting out of the pool. Haha. I used to do stuff like that all the time though. Like I cared about that validation. I cared about like being wanted, and not in a sexual way, but like just like I cared about the public knowing who I was and liking my photos. I thought it did well for my career, and it's just like I don't care at all anymore at this point.
So that's why you said no to TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, they suck, but they're great for portraying a message. Like that's great. I love them for those platforms, like for that reason. But like just as a whole, like when it comes to validity, don't care at all. I also think like I've never really been a prideful person, but more than ever now, I think I've just really realized how deeply important it is to have that connection with people and to lift people up as much as you can. And people say that all the time, but it's like, no. Like you got to really mean that, and to let go of resentment, and to like kind of surrender the things that are out of your control and not live in the space. Like we're all victims to some capacity, for sure. We've all had injustices. Life's been unfair. Life's been really hard to all of us. And it's very easy to sit with that and just be like, well, my life sucks.
Yeah.
It's never getting better. I deserved this. or you do things that are self-destructive and make it worse. And I've certainly done that too. It's like I went through my bad like teenage girl phase where I was kind of mean. I was never a bully or anything like that. Yeah. But like, I didn't, if I saw somebody getting picked on, I would have never in a million years said something. Yeah. Whereas now I'll say something every time. Like those little things that you can do that really makes such a big impact. Yeah. And those things really matter to me now, and they didn't before, and it's been incredible. It's like, sorry, I'm still talking, but it's been incredible. I went from having just like very surface level relationships with a lot of people to suddenly it's like there's people from all walks of life, all ages, from literally all over the globe who have reached out to me and shared their story with me. And it's like, man, how cool is life to actually be able to connect with people like this? Sure. And I feel like a damn idiot for being so obsessed with myself before and so focused on what other people thought about me or what good I was doing on paper that I ignored all of this stuff that matters so much. And it doesn't only help your soul, but it helps everybody else around you too. Yeah. Like those nice little things that you can do. It's like you get to a point where that's just who you are, because you practice what you preach. Yeah. You become what you preach.
Become what you do, yeah.
Like 100%. And it doesn't even phase you. Like you don't care about this or that anymore. You just like become this person that is, I don't know how to describe it without sounding like egotistical, because it's not, but it's like you just become this person who's so much more self-aware. Yeah. And who cares, like really, really cares about the things that a lot of people take for granted and overlook because they're too focused caring about themselves.
Yeah. One of the things, the reason why, and I'll send you a link about it for Gary Vaynerchuk. Mm-hmm. One of the things he says is if he could change one thing about everybody, is that he would invent a pill or a injection that made people self-aware.
Yeah, yeah.
Like just instantly self-awareness, so that you know what's going on and you know what's happening in your life, as opposed to being inward focused, being outward focused, that type of thing. So he preaches a lot of that kind of stuff with his business stuff. I'm going to touch on one other thing, and it's like, you don't talk about what do you don't talk about around the family table. You don't talk politics.
I talk a lot of politics around the family table,
and you don't talk religion, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you don't want to get into it, fine. Just tell me you don't want to get into it. But you talk a little bit about your faith, and you talk a little bit about religion. Does and I think you said this already, that it plays a little bit into who you are now more so than it did before. Did you find that after 2020, or is this something that you grew up with, went away from, and came back to?
Define after 2020.
So a lot of people, so we go to a church, and a lot of people are coming to it now because of what our church brings to the world. So like a message, standing for, what you believe in and that type of thing, right? Because of that, it's grown a ton, right? So a lot of people are coming to find belief system in, in church and stuff like that. And it's given them that self-awareness and that lack of like inward self and more outward self.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So is that something that came to you after 2020? Or is this because you said like things kind of changed for you once your Instagram was hacked and you had to restart and that type of stuff? Is it around the same time that you started to have more faith belief?
I would say that it was probably before. And truly, I would say I've practiced here and there, but nothing like too hardcore. And I think also too, being young and religious, not cool at all. So it was something that I kind of felt intrinsically, but like would never really express. And I would honestly say it wasn't until my ex took his life that was really the moment where I was like, I can't be quiet anymore. God, this sounds so lame for anybody in my age who doesn't believe in any of this stuff, but like truly, like the closer I have gotten, holy hell has my life changed, and for so much the better. And it's not even that I'm getting opportunities, like no, like just those little practices that like you train your mind into and you read and you understand. Wow, Like, I swear to God, I could be having like the worst day and just like nothing but like face palm after face palm. And I'll be driving home from work and I'll just pray to my guardian angel and to everybody like watching over me, just be like, please help me.
Yep.
Like, I need you right now. I don't need anything specific, but I'm feeling really low. And if you could just please like intercede in the things that are out of my control that are really causing me pain and duress right now. Like help me here. Help me to see things that I'm not seeing, or to comprehend, or to have compassion maybe in ways that I'm not, where I'm like blocked by resentment or something, let's say, over a particular situation. Like, help me. Holy, does that stuff ever work? Like, it is crazy to me how much that has changed. And I think too, even in terms of kind of really coming back to my faith, I'm Roman Catholic. I was baptized Roman Catholic, but I would say that I practice more so like a Christian. They're basically the same thing anyway, honestly. They are. I've researched it so much.
So putting you on the spot, do you attend?
Similar. Not super religiously, no. I know in the Catholic faith, you are supposed to be going to church as often as humanly possible. That's how you practice. Christian-wise, going to church is great. However, you know, if you want to go by like the context of what it means, you can practice at home as well. I watch it on TV sometimes. I have a few friends who are religious as well. Yep. And so there's a few of them that I'll go with every once in a while. Not a fan of going to Roman Catholic churches these days because
it's a different vibe.
Poof. Yeah. Whereas like Christian churches, I feel like they're tailored to a younger demographic. And I'm not going to dance around it either. And this is maybe a conspiracy theory of some sort, but like, I really do believe that there is one God. And I understand that there are all these other types of religions. And the way that I kind of see that is like, well, if I was God, I would probably do everything I possibly could to spread my word and message and what this world should be like for ultimate happiness. I would do everything that I could to relate to as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, you're going to have different variations of faith. But even in the Quran, there are the same saints in the Quran that there are in the Bible that most of us preach now in Western society. Like, there's a lot of things about religion that when you look into it, there's a lot of similarities, different interpretations at times, but a lot of similarities with the basic stories that we go off of and know to be true. Yeah. So yeah, I go to church all the time. I think the last time I went to church was like maybe 2 months ago. Okay. I like to go every once in a while for a little refresher. I watch it on TV sometimes with my morning coffee on the weekend. Yeah.
The best part about YouTube now is that you can watch a message at any point, any time of the day, anytime you want, right? Mm-hmm. And for somebody like myself, and I know Tim, I won't speak out of turn for him, but it's great that I can go onto YouTube and find something just by like searching through certain churches and stuff like that, and searching keywords and finding a message that speaks to that issue.
You know, I think that I've always been religious. I grew up with religion, and but I resented it in my youth, as a lot of people who grew up with it do. And then again, you're on a journey of some sort, and you end up finding that moment, that thing happens where finally it clicks and it makes sense. Yeah. And some people it may never happen, and that's too bad. But I'll keep praying for you, and I'll keep wishing you well, and treating you all the same as I would any other day. Yeah. But it truly wasn't until I lost my ex that was a really big one for me. And I remember whew, that was hell. How long
ago was that?
I think 8 or 9 months ago. Very recent. Still in my first year, which is why I still get teary-eyed. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It sucks ass, for lack of better words.
Want it to go through. Yeah.
It's hell. It's hell. But yeah, so like after I had lost him, I was really, really struggling with that. And I was already getting a little closer to finding God per se, I suppose. But some of the things that I experienced and some of the things that like were validated at that point in time, wow. Yeah. Like, to me, that was really the end all be all at that point. Like, I knew 100,000%. Like, oh no, this is real. Yeah. And there have even been a few moments since then, like experiences that I've had and validations that I've had where like I've sat in my car crying and like something will happen that like I couldn't make it up if I wanted to. Yeah. And I'll just sit in my car crying and I'll say like, I don't even know how on earth can I be sad when like I know that you're okay. Yeah. And I know that there's not a lot in the Bible to prove that. There's a handful of stories, but I've spoken with quite a few like pastors and stuff with it. Again, I love researching. Yeah. And I've really come to the conclusion that somebody who who is really lost and has kind of been taken over by evil forces, so to speak, I have a really hard time believing that they wouldn't be welcomed with open arms, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're a good person, you lived a good life, and you tried everything you could, but something took over, you know? And it was something that we couldn't take back. But I have a really hard time believing that, you know. And again, like, truly, it's like, I feel like I know it to be true. I'm like, I know this sucks right now.
Yeah.
Whatever lesson I have to learn from this sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm powering through. Thank you for helping to guide me. And like, I know that I'll see you again.
Yeah. Yeah. Drew Dudley, in our last interview that we just, I actually just finished editing it, so it's fresh in my mind right now. He was talking about a box, and grief is like having a bouncy ball in a box. And he said that there's a button on the box, and every time you shake that box, the ball hits the button, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the ball starts out the size of the box, so every little thing gets you, and then the ball slowly gets smaller, right? So
I like that.
Yeah, he does. Watch the episode when it comes out on Friday.
Okay.
No plug or anything like that. But he explains it way better, and he has a description for grief, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it is right now. And yeah, we talk about grief a little bit on that one, and it's tough. Like, grief is tough, but when you have faith, grief gets easier.
I think even too, it's just like that added, I don't know, like that added thing in the back of your mind where it's like, okay, no, we're good.
Yeah.
This is hell. This sucks.
Yeah.
But I have faith that everything will make sense at some point in time. You know, I actually, I recently, there's a man by the name of Stephen Gray. He's the director of a movie called After Death.
Yeah. Okay.
Came out from Angel Studios.
Yep.
He lives like literally 6 minutes away from me, and
wow.
he's been touring all over the place lately for his film. It's the highest grossing documentary film since 2016. Fun fact.
Oh, wow.
Nicely written and directed by a Manitoban.
Where can we find it? Do you know?
I'm actually not too sure. I joked with him that I illegally streamed it, but it wasn't a joke.
Because that's the only place you can find it.
Angel Studios is a tough one. They get blocked a lot.
Oh man, that one with Jim Caviezel in it.
Yes,
was literally crowdfunded.
The Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? That whole movie took place in like a village in Cartagena, Colombia. I went to Colombia, Cartagena about 2 weeks after I watched it, and I remember looking over on our balcony. I have photos of it, of the shipping port that they filmed in that movie with the children inside of it, and I remember looking over at it and thinking like, oh my god,
there could be
there probably is on average. I think there's usually quite a few found every month, and I was like, this is crazy.
That was an unreal film.
Mm-hmm. After Death is really cool. I've watched it twice now. It's really incredible, and him and I too. He has also dealt with some pretty brutal losses in life, and that's the thing. There's so many people that will be like the go-to. Oh well, how on earth could I have faith? If God was so good, why would He take this innocent person? Why would He do this? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but like maybe that person's role did what it had to do. And they're just kind of moving on to that next chapter, and they're not gone. You know, I had this really insane dream shortly after the loss I was dealing with. It was the most real dream I've ever experienced in my life. I've met with a lot of people. I was actually talking to Stephen Gray about this as well. It's really common. And the way that it's described is like identical from person to person. It's very bizarre.
Okay.
Like, it'll give you chills. If you ever unfortunately experience something like this and talk to somebody else who has, it's insane.
You get the same.
It's insane. And there's people that I've talked to since where I've just told them the story, and they'll be like, oh my God. And they're like not even people of faith.
Yeah.
But they're like, I had that and I remember that. But I had this dream shortly after. It was within the days that I got the news, and it was so crazy. It was the most real dream I've ever had in my life. Like, it was a memory. I remember it clear as day. Like, it happened to me before I came here. I remember the feeling of the air. It was warm. I remember how it smelt.
Oh, wow.
Like, I remember everything, like every tiny detail. I don't even remember what the hell I had for breakfast as good as I remember this dream.
Yeah.
But in it, there was somebody in my dream that was talking to me. And the one thing that I kept saying was, I'm just so sad. And I miss him and I love him. And I just want to tell him that life's been really hard without him. And there was somebody in my dream that they had like pointed out the window. I don't know who it was that I was speaking with, but it was somebody who was comfortable and familiar. And they had pointed out the window, and I saw my grandmother, who passed away about 13 years ago, 15 years, I guess now. And is a younger version of my grandmother, maybe in her 30s or so, which is another thing, if you look into it, very common when it comes to weird little things like that people say are kind of like religious experiences, encounters of some sort, a visit of some sort. Is a younger version of my grandma. Obviously, I wasn't alive when she was that age. And I went out to my grandma, and I couldn't even remember what my grandma sounded like. She passed away when I was so young. And it had been so many years, and we didn't have video footage back then. So I don't remember what my grandma sounds like, but I walked up to her and I said, like, Grandma, like, I'm just so sad. And I remember I was holding my cell phone, and I was trying to text him, and none of the messages were going in. And I was like, I just kept saying, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like he blocked me or something. Like, he's gone. I can't contact him, and I want to so bad. And I just want to tell him that I really miss him. And life's been really hard without him. And I really love him. My grandma looked at me, and in her voice, which again, I hadn't heard for years, she said, she grabbed my phone and she said, he's not gone. He didn't block you. He just has a new number. And she like put his new number in my phone. And that's something that I kind of like to say as like a way to summarize when people are really grieving. Yeah. And I understand that can be really tricky sometimes, especially if you're not somebody of faith. Like if you're one of those people who believes that like you just die and it's nothing. Yeah. Wow, does that ever sound depressing? But okay. If you have reasons for believing that, I'm not here to judge you. But I surely hope you feel as though your life is more valuable than that. And if not, please reach out. Yeah. But it's something that I often say is like, you know, it's hell and it's the worst pain imaginable, and life is suffering and life is very hard and it's not fair, and terrible things happen to good people all the time. Yeah. But like at the end of the day, good people, they're not gone, you know, and they didn't block you. They just have it. They just have a new number now, and you might not have access to it yet, but one day you will. Yeah. And so that's kind of like something I try to remind myself of in terms of like my grief. Like obviously it's still first year, not a fun time. No. So that stuff is very tough, but I don't know. It's like without a doubt in me. And like, I know it's not the cool thing to do, but it's like 110%. I'm fully converted.
I can't, I'm just listening to you right now. I can't imagine for me personally, because I've never gone through anything that you're describing, but I just want to say thank you for sharing that with us. It takes a lot to confide in somebody those kinds of stories, especially with, like you said, 8 months within the year. Mm-hmm.
And people that you really
don't know at all.
Yeah.
We just met.
But like it does take a lot, and
it's something
same sentiments as I'm right now.
Deeply passionate about. And again, it's like this, like that image is clear, you know. That it's like there's a purpose and there's a message, and I think too that was made abundantly clear the second that I first opened up, because I remember feeling really hesitant when I started kind of going down this path publicly, and I'm blown away. I still am every day, blown away at the amount of people that you would never expect that come forward and they share their stories and tell their life, and you know, it's like, whoa, I had no idea how many of us there were out here, and how beautiful is it that we can all kind of connect on this level that we never would have if I hadn't done this. Yeah. So
I can understand exactly what you're saying. Of course, not your experience, but I've had a couple of close family members pass away in the last few years, and it's just, you can't take things for granted.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And what you're talking about about Tyler not liking hugs, and I was never a hug person.
I still hug him anyway.
I try to go out of my way to get people hugs.
See,
just the little things.
It's
right?
important. It is sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah, the hugs and stuff like that. I'm not a hugging person for the most part either.
He likes to share his food though.
I hate sharing food.
I love sharing food from other people's plates.
So Lorraine will share food with me, which is great.
But you don't share back?
It's very difficult.
Grow up.
So it's not about growing up. And
you are joking. So she'll be like,
a whole different story.
Oh, I'm gonna get this cheesecake, you get that one, and you're like, great, we can share plates.
No, I don't say that. I don't say we can share plates. I actually say I'm gonna get this. Yeah. And Lorraine will always ask me, do you want to share? So now we've come to an agreement that like We were just in Florida, and we were at a place. If you ever go to Florida and you go to Universal City Walk, you've got to go to this place called the Chocolate Emporium.
That place is. I've been there and it's amazing.
You've been there.
Yeah.
So
not the. It's like it's not,
it's
but
the best.
it's yeah.
Well,
sorry.
yeah.
I mean, maybe you can overindulge.
Oh, the may contain peanuts is unreal because of the peanut butter that's in it. But anyway, so I'm like, I know, and we haven't been there for 4 years, so I know I'm getting this dessert when we go there, right? So I get this dessert, and she gets a different dessert, and I'm like, this is my dessert. But before that, for supper, we actually both ordered different burgers and we just cut them in half. So I can share food that way. Whereas we cut a burger in half, you have half, I have half, that type of thing. So that I'm getting my meal still.
I don't know that
but
I
he
like
doesn't
that.
share food. He steals food.
Because I know it.
Like literally.
Literally, I know because he hates it.
Have you ever eaten at
course.
Shea Cafe?
No.
On Provence?
Yeah.
On Provence?
Oh,
Yeah.
No.
It's Shea's.
No, I thought I had, but no, I haven't.
It's family style eating.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
That's the
for
best.
me.
Yeah.
I went to a family style wedding once
Yeah.
where they had like all because family
the
style
food
eating
comes
on the table.
Yeah.
Iconic. Legendary.
Yeah.
Honestly. The couple who did that needs to make that a trend because it was amazing.
Yeah, but people like me would probably have problems with that.
I don't care.
Yeah. That's okay.
I'd be like, you enjoy your problems over there. I'm going to grab this entire bowl of potatoes, put
Yeah.
as much on here as I want. Oh, you still have problems? Pass the meatballs. Okay.
Yeah. We do family style like a family, but it's buffet. Buffet style's fine for me.
Huh.
It's just like plates. I don't know. And it's kind of funny because the first time we ever went out, we went to Sukhothai.
Mm-hmm.
And Sukhothai is basically like sharing, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
like on
Yeah.
our very first date ever,
Oh, so immediately
I had to share food.
Oh, no.
And
what were you going to do?
I did it. I shared food. You have to.
You shared the food. Oh, my gosh. How?
You have
The
to.
atrocity.
But, after that, I got my own dessert at Baked Expectations. So, yeah, sharing foods are difficult for me.
That
but-
actually, honestly, nothing triggered me more than you saying that you got your own dessert at Baked Expectations, because there is nothing better than going to Baked Expectations with a group or multiple people.
and sharing desserts?
Yes, then you get to try them all. Because every time I go,
I like the one I like.
oh my god, this guy, I can't.
It's just, I like what I like.
Well, what if I like what you like, but then
Then
I
you should have
won't
ordered
know unless I try it first, which I could do
yeah,
off your plate.
I guess.
Wow.
I don't look at it that way.
He has issues.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Ruining desserts for generations to come. There's children involved. Good luck.
Yeah, my children, like, I'll steal from my children. Yeah.
Dude.
I know, it's a one-sided
Wow.
relationship. I'm bad
They're
at it.
children. They have no rights.
It's mostly just French fries and stuff, right? Like,
You don't ask.
and it's usually because they get their food first, and I'm so hungry. I'm like, just one fry, and my daughter will slap my hand.
I love her.
Yes, she will
That's good.
stop
Daughter
me.
and wife.
And Lorraine, well, she won't get her. She gets her food at the same time as me. But yeah, I don't know. I like what I like. That's why. And if I order
And
what I like,
stealing off the plates of small children
stealing-
Defense.
Man, this has gone
Small
sideways.
children.
on the list.
This part of the interview didn't go exactly how I thought it would go.
See, this is what I said. There's many weird sides to me.
yes,
Complex humans.
yes. And I appreciate you sharing a different side of you, because that's exactly why we wanted to have you on. There's so many sides of you, and we probably just scratched the surface. And really, we have like 20 questions, and we asked 3 of them.
Yeah, sorry
Right?
about that.
But it's not your fault. It's because we want the 20 questions prepared,
Yeah.
so that if you don't want to talk about something, we'll move something else.
I want to
but-
read them really bad now.
You can afterwards.
Okay.
We'll let you
And that
read them.
but that just means we have to have you on again.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
I'm down.
to end the interview, end the podcast here.
I have a question.
Okay, Lorraine
Yes.
has a question.
Lay it on me.
How do you stand up for what you believe in when you work in an industry that is very censored?
Oh, dear God.
Are you?
I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things that I don't, which is really a damn shame. And that's where other factors like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok come into play. But even then, you have to worry. Like you do self-censor, and it's not because all these things that you have to say that are on your mind are terrible. No. But it's like, no, there's just certain things that are yays and nos, you know. And it's, you want to be entertaining, you want to keep the peace, and so sometimes you just keep a few things to yourself. Because even for me, like, I mean, maybe sure, yeah, do I like conservative politics? They tend to align with my views in many ways. Sure, not 100% of the time, but in many ways. Yeah. And it's crazy because even something like that, I'm like, well, that's not a terrible opinion at all. Like, I'm like, well, that's just, it's a party. It's it's one of many political parties that I happen to like. Nobody else gets on for liking theirs. What the heck? But that is something too that is a little bit like, I've had people even, Jasmin, I love coming to you for mental health advice, but I really think that you should stay away from the divisive content. There's too much of it these days. And I'm like, okay, so then don't watch it. Yeah. I oh gosh, again, don't want this to sound prideful whatsoever, but it's like, I truly feel like every single human being, there's a gift of some sort that you have. And you know, like, there's like that biblical saying, like, don't say the Lord's name in vain. To me, the way that I interpret that is a lot of like stand your ground and like make sure you're doing what you're doing with purpose. Yep. It's not don't say, oh God, even though I try to not do that all the time, which even though I don't know, can we do a shot every time Jasmin says this when we listen back? Because unfortunately,
I might be drunk right now.
I've made some errors. But to me, I really think of like that commandment as like, just, you know, making sure that you're using what you have to the best of your ability and not silencing things. Yeah. And unfortunately, in today's world, you do silence yourself. And it's funny because it makes people around you think that they're the anomaly for not following suit because nobody else is talking about it. But it's like, you're not. Yeah. There's a lot of people. I actually remember even when I was with Pierre Polyev, we had a quick little chat, and one of the things I said to him, I've known of Pierre for a very long time. He's far more likable now that he's had kids and got married, for sure. More relatable. He's grounded in a way that he wasn't. Yeah. When he was younger, for sure, he was.
His son's name's the same as my son's name.
Really?
Yeah, Cruz.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's cute. Wow.
Yeah, I know,
copycat.
Right? No, mine was first.
No, I know him.
Oh, yeah, he was a copycat. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah.
But, you know, even when I was with him, it was one thing that I had mentioned. I was like, oh, yeah, it's funny. I'm like at your rally and I posted something about it. And he asked first, what station do you work for? And I'm like, we're not government funded. So chill. Everything's fine.
So that helps.
Yeah, it does help very much. But the one thing that he said was, you know, you're going to have people that are going to come at you for it for reasons that don't really make sense. When you actually think about them logically, a lot of people just read headlines and they go off of that. And that's their life. That's their truth. But you do find it's very common that people, once they start doing more research than just what the headlines are telling you or what everybody in your friend group is talking about, because it's all they know because they're reading the same headlines as you. There are a lot of people that are, I guess I could say, like leftist or liberal defectors in some ways. Not on everything, but there's certainly a lot of people that become much more rational. But there's such a fear to do that, which is just bizarre to me. Yeah. Like, this is Canada. What the hell? Why the hell is anybody getting any pushback at all for their religious values? Yeah. What? Like, would you say the same things that you do about Christians to other religions? Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. You wouldn't. Actually, Christianity, as an example, is literally one of 3 Abrahamic faiths, and it's the only one that is ever criticized publicly and encouraged almost. Yeah. It's bizarre to me.
We found that a lot during 2020.
It makes no sense. Yes, you did. It's insane. So when you really look into that, whether or not you're religious, that doesn't matter. Like, think about that. Think about what that means. That's dangerous. That's scary. Like, that's scary stuff. We live in Canada. What the hell? And same thing with politics as well. Like we live in Canada. What the hell are you doing freaking out on somebody who may have different views than you? I'm sorry, what is your goal here? You want your goal to be that every single person only thinks the way that you do? Every single person does not have a single opposing thought to you. Nobody ever challenges you. That sounds like the most boring party ever. Like, there is nobody who makes Christmas dinner more entertaining than your one weird uncle who always goes off about some nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird uncles.
So I would say, as a whole, it's very hard, which is why I do tame it down a lot. But yeah, that's totally what other outlets are for. And again, I'm very blessed to have the network that I do have. I'm very blessed to have the team that I have. We're all very supportive of each other. And also if something is maybe a little bit out of line, we always talk about it, and things are always on the same page. Yeah, things are always good. And at the end of the day though, too, that's another thing that's really powerful about working for a company like I currently do. When you work for a big corporation, the government funding is a little tricky because there are rules to abide by. I've worked for big corporations before in media, and it is different. Not all bad though. I'm not sitting here like crapping on anybody by any means, but there are certainly some things that you just pay attention to a little bit more. But where we are, you know, like I'm fully loved and embraced for exactly who I am.
That's awesome.
And every once in a while there might be like a little like, pump the brakes there. Like it's fine, but like chill. You didn't need to go off for 30 seconds about that thing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. That's true. Actually, I probably
But that's
didn't.
not Wheeler.
No. I love the conversations that we have with him. And I think even to, you know, myself, I've always kind of leaned more in the right direction. I
have to watch that new Disney movie because of Wheeler today. So
I want to as well.
Star?
Yeah, it's like that. It's a musical.
It's
Wish. Yes. I also want to watch that.
When he described it the way he described it today, I'm like, I gotta watch it with that description in my head.
I know. Dude, you have no idea how like stoked I am to have kids one day and be able to like, I don't know, watch all of my favorite cartoons again with no judgment. Let's go.
It does get a little old.
No.
Because they watch the same ones over and over and over.
I don't know. I've watched Sing 2 with my nephew at least 8 times, and I thoroughly enjoy it every time. You still like it?
So I'm going to give you one last hard question. Okay. This is the last one.
I'm sorry we're talking for so long.
That's okay. The last hard question is, if you could leave somebody today with one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Something that I've said a lot, and it's a little, I'll try not to make it too long, but you become the company you keep, so keep your company very wisely. You may think that you are smarter or maybe better off or have more money or whatever it may be. I think especially when you're younger, when you look at the people in your life who you pass judgment on, think about the people that they're around. Like, do you want to be that person who is like, oh, well, you know, they're friends with so-and-so and people judge you based on that? So like, it is so incredibly important to ensure that every single person you have close to you is somebody that you want to share good news with, somebody who like really motivates you and encourages you and is really great and enhances your life. Like, I don't care what reasons you may have certain people in your life. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, we've been friends for 13 years, but they make you feel like you should probably stop being friends with them because you will turn into them. You may think that you're smarter, but you're going to turn into them. Yeah. You want to know something really crazy? All children start out absolutely wonderful. These beautiful, lovely souls. And there is a reason why some of them end up in jail and others don't. And a lot of that is due to the company that they keep. So keep that in mind.
Great advice. Great final word. Hey, thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right there. And then there's a video in front of me and one in front of Timothy. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. See you next week on a Friday.
Friday. Fun Friday.
Fun Friday.